There are moments in history when the world does not end with noise, but with light. On the morning of August 6th, 1945, the city of Hiroshima wakes as it always has. Streetcars hum along their rails. Children move through narrow streets in neat lines, uniforms pressed, lunch pails swinging gently at their sides. Shopkeepers slide open wooden doors, a river city stretching its limbs beneath a summer sky. Above them, the sky is empty, or so it seems. High above the clouds, a single aircraft cuts through the blue, a Boeing B-29 Superfortress named Enola. Inside, men speak in quiet, measured tones, their voices steady, their mission already irreversible. At 8:15 a.m., a device falls from the belly of that plane. It is called Little Boy. The people below will never hear it coming. What follows will not resemble war as the world has ever known it. No artillery barrage, no marching armies, just a single flash. A light so bright it erases shadows from existence. A heat so intense it writes human silhouettes into stone. In less than a heartbeat, an entire city becomes something else. Not destroyed, transformed. And in that transformation, humanity crosses a threshold it can never uncross. The story of atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki does not begin in Japan. It begins in theory, in equations scratched onto chalkboards, in quiet conversations between physicists who realize something unsettling, that the atom is not indivisible, and more importantly, that it can be split. The concept of nuclear fission unlocks a terrifying possibility. When certain atoms break apart, they release not just energy, but more neutrons. A chain reaction, self-sustaining, exponential, unstoppable. In 1939, as war begins to spread across Europe, scientists fear that Adolf Hitler might harness this power first. That fear becomes urgency, and urgency becomes action. In the United States, a secret program begins, hidden in deserts and mountains, behind barbed wire and guarded gates. It is called the Manhattan Project. Its goal is simple in wording and staggering in implication. Build a weapon unlike anything ever seen. At its center stands J. Robert Oppenheimer, a man as complex as the weapon he is helping to create. Brilliant, introspective, haunted even before the work is done. Years pass in secrecy. Cities are built where none existed. Entire communities work without fully knowing what they are creating. Then, in July 1945, in the desert of New Mexico, the world changes. The first atomic device is detonated, the Trinity test. Observers miles away describe a light brighter than the sun, a shock wave that arrives like a delayed echo of creation itself. Oppenheimer will later recall a line from ancient scripture, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The weapon is no longer theoretical, it exists, and now it will be used. By the summer of 1945, the war in Europe has ended. Germany has fallen. But in the Pacific, the conflict grinds on. Japan remains defiant, its cities battered by conventional bombing, its military weakened but not surrendered. American planners face a grim calculation. An invasion of Japan could cost hundreds of thousands of lives, possibly more. The atomic bomb offers an alternative, a single strike, a decisive shock. Targets are studied carefully. Cities that have been largely untouched by bombing. Places where the full effect of the weapon can be measured. Hiroshima rises to the top of the list. A military hub, a transportation center, a city of over 300,000 people. But on paper, it becomes something else, a target. The decision is made far from the city's streets, in rooms filled with maps and calculations, where lives are reduced to estimates. There is no vote among those who will be affected, no warning that could truly prepare them, only a plan and a date. August 6th, 1945. The Enola approaches its target. Weather conditions are clear, visibility is perfect. At 8:15 a.m., the bomb is released. It falls for 43 seconds. Then, light. Not an explosion as the world understands it, but an instantaneous conversion of matter into energy. Temperatures at the center reach millions of degrees, hotter than the surface of the sun. A fireball blossoms over the city, a sphere of incandescent fury. Below, people are vaporized where they stand. Others are thrown violently through the air. Buildings collapse as if crushed by an invisible hand. A shockwave races outward at hundreds of miles per hour. Glass becomes shrapnel, wood becomes fuel, clothing ignites on human skin. And then comes the silence, a brief, impossible quiet. Before the fires begin, across Hiroshima, thousands of individual blazes merge into a single inferno, a firestorm. Air rushes inward, feeding the flames. Winds strong enough to pull people toward the center. Those who survive the initial blast stumble through a landscape they no longer recognize. Skin hangs in strips, eyes clouded, voices reduced to whispers. Many do not understand what has happened, only that the world has become unrecognizable in a single moment. By the end of the day, tens of thousands are dead. By the end of the year, that number will climb dramatically. Radiation, an invisible consequence, begins its work. Burns that do not heal. Illnesses that appear days, weeks, months later. Hair falls out in clumps. Internal organs begin to fail. Survivors, later known as hibakusha, carry the weight of that mourning for the rest of their lives. Their stories are not always believed at first, because what they describe sounds impossible. Black rain falling from the sky, shadows burned into walls, a city erased without warning. 3 days later, a second bomb is dropped on Nagasaki. Another flash, another city transformed. The message is unmistakable. On August 15th, 1945, Japan announces its surrender. World War II ends. But something new has begun. The atomic bomb does not simply end a war. It redraws the boundaries of human capability. For the first time, humanity possesses the power to destroy entire cities in seconds, and eventually, far more than that. In the years that follow, nations race to build their own arsenals. The shadow of the mushroom cloud stretches across decades, into the Cold War, into classrooms where children practice drills for a war that must never happen, into politics, diplomacy, and the fragile balance of deterrence. The bomb becomes more than a weapon. It becomes a presence, a constant, silent companion to modern civilization. In Hiroshima today, the streets are full again. Cars move where ashes once drifted. Voices rise where silence once settled. At the Hiroshima Peace Memorial, a structure still stands, broken, preserved, a reminder frozen in time, not of destruction alone, but of choice. Because the story of August 6, 1945 is not only about what happened, it is about what is now possible. The atom still waits, silent and obedient, its power unchanged. The difference lies only in the hands that command it. History does not close this chapter, it leaves it open, like a page that can still be written or rewritten. And somewhere, in the quiet space between memory and warning, the light of that morning still burns, not in the sky, but in the decisions yet to come.